The desert wind carried the scent of sand and gunpowder as Chief Petty Officer Marcus Rodriguez watched through his binoculars. 3.5 kilometers away, a figure moved across the rocky terrain with the precision of a ghost. The Barrett .50 caliber rifle cracked once, its sound rolling across the valley like thunder. When the echo faded, silence fell over the observation post. "Holy hell," Rodriguez whispered, lowering his binoculars. "Did you see that?" His spotter, a seasoned Marine with 2 deployments under his belt, was already calculating wind speed and distance. "Chief, that's impossible. Nobody makes that shot." But someone had. Someone whose identity would shock the entire special operations community and challenge everything they thought they knew about precision shooting. This is the story of how a quiet woman from small-town America became one of the most lethal snipers in modern military history, and how her record-breaking 500-meter kill changed the landscape of special operations forever. Her name was Sarah Mitchell, though most would come to know her by her call sign, Ghost. This is her story. Sarah Mitchell never planned to become a sniper. Growing up in the rolling hills of Montana, she was just another ranch kid who could shoot straight. Her father, a Vietnam veteran turned cattle rancher, had taught her to handle firearms the way other parents taught their children to ride bicycles. By age 12, she could drop a coyote at 400 yards with her grandfather's old hunting rifle. By 16, she was winning state shooting competitions and helping her family put food on the table during harsh winters. The ranch life was hard, but honest. Every morning before school, Sarah would help at the chores, feeding cattle and mending fences. Her hands were rough from work, her skin weathered by wind and sun. She wasn't like the other girls in her small town of Cedar Falls, population 200. While they worried about makeup and boys, Sarah worried about whether the north pasture fence would hold through another blizzard. Her mother, Linda, often watched her daughter with a mixture of pride and concern. Sarah had inherited her father's steady hands and keen eye, but also his stubborn independence. At 17, when most of her classmates were planning prom dresses, Sarah was planning her escape from the financial struggles that plagued the family ranch. Cattle prices had dropped 3 years running, and medical bills from her father's heart attack had eaten through their savings. The military recruiter arrived on a Tuesday morning in April, driving a spotless sedan that looked out of place among the pickup trucks parked outside Cedar Falls High School. Staff Sergeant Jennifer Cole was everything Sarah's mother feared the military would turn her daughter into. Confident, controlled, and completely focused on the mission at hand. But when Cole spoke to Sarah about opportunities in the Army, about training that could translate into civilian careers, Sarah heard something different. She heard a way to help her family while serving her country. Her father, Tom Mitchell, sat at the kitchen table that evening, turning the recruitment pamphlets over in his weathered hands. "You sure about this, kiddo?" he asked, using the nickname that had stuck since she was 5 years old. His voice carried the weight of his own military service, the memories of friends who didn't come home from Southeast Asia. Sarah looked out the window at the rolling pastures that stretched toward the mountains, the land her great-grandfather had homesteaded, the place where 4 generations of Mitchells had worked the soil and raised their families. "Dad, we're going to lose the ranch anyway if something doesn't change. At least this way, I can send money home and learn skills that'll help us later." Linda Mitchell wiped her hands on her apron, a nervous habit she'd developed during her husband's deployment decades earlier. "The Army's different now, honey. They have women in combat roles. It's not like when your father served." Tom nodded slowly. He'd been following the news about women in combat positions, about the changing face of modern warfare. Part of him worried about his daughter facing the dangers he'd known in Vietnam. Another part of him recognized the steel in her eyes, the same determination that had gotten her through 17 years of Montana winters and family hardships. The signing ceremony took place 2 weeks later at the recruitment office in Billings, 43 miles from Cedar Falls. Sarah's parents made the drive in their old Ford pickup, the same truck that had carried 3 generations of Mitchell children to their first days of school, first dates, and now first steps toward military service. The paperwork was extensive, the commitment serious. 8 years of active duty, with the possibility of deployment anywhere in the world. Staff Sergeant Cole explained the training pipeline for new recruits. Basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, followed by advanced individual training based on her chosen military occupational specialty. Sarah had scored high enough on the ASVAB to qualify for almost any job in the Army. Cole recommended intelligence, communications, or logistics. Safe jobs with good civilian applications. But when Sarah saw the job description for infantry, she felt something click into place. The physical demands didn't scare her. She'd been bucking hay bales and wrestling cattle since childhood. The weapons training appealed to her natural shooting ability. Most importantly, infantry soldiers received the highest priority for schools and advanced training. If she was going to serve, she wanted to be the best soldier she could be. The drive home from Billings was quiet. Linda stared out the passenger window at the familiar landscape, trying to imagine her daughter thousands of miles away in some foreign desert or jungle. Tom focused on the road, but his mind was decades in the past, remembering his own departure for basic training and the young man he'd been before war changed everything. Sarah's last month at home passed quickly. She worked extra hours helping with spring calving, fixing what could be fixed around the ranch, and spending time with the horses she'd grown up riding. Her best friend, Amy Rodriguez, threw her a going-away party at the local diner where half the town showed up to wish her well. The other half had opinions about young women joining the military that they kept to themselves, at least when Sarah was within earshot. The night before departure, Sarah sat on the porch with her father, watching the stars emerge over the big sky country that had shaped her. "You know, kiddo, I never told you much about my time in the service," Tom said, breaking the comfortable silence. Sarah waited. Her father rarely spoke about Vietnam, and she'd learned not to push. 18 years old and scared out of my mind most of the time, but I learned things about myself I never would have known otherwise. About courage, about brotherhood, about what really matters when everything else gets stripped away. He paused, choosing his words carefully. "I'm proud of you for choosing to serve. But more than that, I'm proud you're choosing to be excellent at whatever you do." The morning of departure came grey and cold, typical for late May in Montana. Sarah's duffel bag, packed according to the detailed list provided by the recruiter, sat by the door like a monument to change. Her mother had packed enough snacks for a week-long journey, though the bus ride to Fort Leonard Wood would take only 18 hours. At the Greyhound station in Billings, 3 other young recruits waited for the same bus. 2 boys from rural communities like her own, and another girl from the suburbs of Helena who looked like she'd never been outside a shopping mall. They would all face the same crucible of basic training, the same transformation from civilians to soldiers. As the bus pulled away from the station, Sarah pressed her face to the window and watched Montana disappear behind her. She didn't know that in 18 months she would be the top graduate of the Army Scout Sniper School. She didn't know that her natural shooting ability, combined with relentless training and an unshakable calm under pressure, would make her one of the most sought-after precision shooters in the special operations community. All she knew was that she was trading the familiar challenges of ranch life for the unknown challenges of military service. The girl who left Cedar Falls, Montana that morning was still thinking about cattle prices and fence repairs. The woman who would return 3 years later would be thinking about wind speeds, bullet drop, and the weight of decisions that could save or cost lives from distances measured in kilometers. But first, she had to survive basic training. As the bus rolled east toward Missouri and her new life, Sarah Mitchell closed her eyes and tried to imagine what lay ahead. The ranch kid was about to become a soldier. The soldier would eventually become a sniper, and the sniper would one day make a shot that would echo through the halls of the Pentagon and change how the military thought about women in combat forever. Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri hit Sarah like a physical blow. The humidity pressed against her skin like a wet blanket, a sharp contrast to the dry mountain air of home. The bus disgorged 37 nervous recruits into the chaos of Reception Battalion, where drill sergeants with voices like chainsaws began the process of breaking down civilians and rebuilding them as soldiers. Drill Sergeant Williams, a compact African-American woman with 23 years of service, singled Sarah out on the first day, not for punishment but for observation. Something about the way the Montana girl stood, the way her eyes tracked movement around the formation, caught Williams' attention. While other recruits fumbled with basic tasks, Sarah moved with economy and purpose. The first weeks of basic training were a blur of physical challenges, classroom instruction, and what the Army called adjustment to military life. Sarah adapted faster than most. Years of ranch work had given her a baseline fitness level that surpassed many of her fellow recruits. More importantly, she understood the concept of necessary hardship. Just as Montana winters taught resilience, military training taught discipline. But it was on the rifle range that Sarah truly distinguished herself. The M16A2 service rifle felt different from her father's hunting rifles, but the fundamentals remained the same: breathing, sight picture, trigger control. While other recruits struggled to qualify with minimum scores, Sarah consistently shot expert ratings. Her tight shot groups and natural marksmanship caught the attention of range instructors and visiting personnel. Master Sergeant Patricia Donovan, the senior marksmanship instructor at Fort Leonard Wood, had seen thousands of recruits cycle through basic training. Most could barely hit the broadside of a barn when they arrived. A few showed natural aptitude. But Sarah Mitchell was different. She didn't just hit targets, she analyzed them, adjusting for conditions that hadn't been taught yet. Private Mitchell, report to my office after chow. Donovan ordered one afternoon following a particularly impressive shooting demonstration. Sarah had just placed 10 consecutive rounds into a group smaller than a quarter at 300 meters, shooting in conditions that were challenging experienced soldiers. Donovan's office was spartanly decorated with certificates, photographs of marksmanship teams, and a collection of precision rifles that represented decades of military shooting evolution. Sit down, Private. Where did you learn to shoot like that? Sarah's answer was simple and honest. Growing up on a ranch in Montana, Master Sergeant. My father taught me when I was young. Your father serve? Yes, Master Sergeant. Vietnam, 173rd Airborne Brigade. Donovan nodded approvingly. Military families often produce strong soldiers, understanding the culture and expectations better than civilian families. What are your plans after basic training? What's your military occupational specialty? Infantry, Master Sergeant, 11B. That surprised Donovan. The Army had only recently opened infantry positions to women, and most female recruits chose support roles with better living conditions and transfer potential. Why infantry? Sarah thought carefully before answering. I want to be where the mission matters most, Master Sergeant. Infantry soldiers get the best training opportunities, and I want to be the best soldier I can be. Donovan spent the next hour explaining advanced marksmanship programs available to infantry soldiers. The Army Scout Sniper School, previously closed to women, now accepted qualified candidates regardless of gender. The training was brutal, with a failure rate approaching 70%. But successful graduates became some of the most valuable soldiers in the military. I'm going to make some phone calls, Donovan told Sarah as the interview concluded. Your basic training performance and natural shooting ability make you a candidate for advanced programs. But understand this, if you want to be a sniper, you'll need more than just good shooting. You'll need mental toughness, physical endurance, and the ability to make life and death decisions under extreme pressure. Sarah's graduation from basic training was attended by her parents, who made the long drive from Montana to Missouri. The young woman they'd put on a bus 3 months earlier had been replaced by a confident soldier with bearing and purpose. The transformation was visible in her posture, her movements, even her speech patterns. Infantry school at Fort Benning, Georgia, presented new challenges. The physical demands increased dramatically, with long road marches carrying full combat loads. Tactical exercises simulated combat conditions, teaching movement, communication, and small unit operations. Sarah excelled at individual tasks, but struggled initially with the team dynamics of infantry squads. Her squad leader, Staff Sergeant Martinez, recognized the issue during a field exercise in the Georgia pine forests. Mitchell, you're trying to do everything yourself. Infantry fighting is about teamwork. Trust your battle buddies to do their jobs while you focus on yours. The lesson proved crucial during advanced marksmanship training. While Sarah's individual shooting remained superior, she learned to function as part of a team. Spotters, team leaders, and support personnel all contributed to mission success. The lone wolf mentality that served her well on the ranch had to be channeled into collective effort. It was during a night live fire exercise that Sarah first worked with advanced optics and night vision equipment. The technology amazed her, turning darkness into green-tinted visibility that revealed details invisible to the naked eye. When combined with precision rifles and match-grade ammunition, the capabilities seemed almost magical compared to the simple hunting rifles of her youth. Lieutenant Colonel James Harrison, the battalion commander, observed the exercise from the range tower. Sarah's performance with night optics was remarkable for a soldier with only 6 months of service. When the exercise concluded, Harrison requested a private meeting with the promising recruit. Private Mitchell, your instructors tell me you're interested in advanced marksmanship programs. Sniper school specifically. Yes. So, Master Sergeant Donovan discussed the opportunity with me at basic training. Harrison studied her personnel file, noting test scores, physical fitness ratings, and instructor evaluations. Everything indicated exceptional potential. Sniper school is voluntary, but it's also highly selective. The course has a 73% failure rate. Students come from special operations units, experienced infantry soldiers, Marines with multiple deployments. You'd be competing against people with years more experience. Sarah met his gaze steadily. Sir, I understand the challenges, but I believe I can succeed with proper preparation and dedication. The course is 8 weeks of the most demanding training the Army offers. Physical challenges that break experienced soldiers. academic requirements that exceed many college courses, and psychological pressure designed to identify who can function under extreme stress. Are you sure you want to volunteer for that? Without hesitation, Sarah answered, "Yes, sir." Harrison made notes in her file. "I'm recommending you for the next available slot. That means additional preparation training here at Benning, working with our designated marksman instructors. If you pass their evaluation, you'll go to sniper school as soon as a slot opens." The next 4 months transformed Sarah from a good soldier into an exceptional one. Advanced marksmanship instruction covered ballistics, meteorology, and range estimation. Physical preparation included long-distance running, mountaineering techniques, and survival skills. Most challenging were the psychological evaluations designed to identify soldiers capable of making lethal decisions from concealed positions. Dr. Ellen Rodriguez, the military psychologist conducting evaluations, found Sarah's psychological profile fascinating. Unlike many candidates who showed aggressive tendencies or enjoyed the idea of killing, Sarah demonstrated calm, analytical thinking and genuine concern for mission accomplishment over personal glory.
What motivates you to pursue sniper training?
Dr. Pikachi, Rodriguez asked during their third session. Sarah's answer reflected months of introspection. "I want to protect other soldiers, Doctor. If I can eliminate threats from long distance, I can save the lives of infantry soldiers who would otherwise have to assault defended positions." It's about protecting people, not killing people. The distinction was important. Successful snipers understood their role as precision assets supporting larger missions, not as hunters seeking individual glory. Sarah's motivation aligned with the military's needs for professional, disciplined marksmen rather than cowboys seeking adventure. Her acceptance letter to the U.S. Army Scout Sniper School arrived on a cold December morning at Fort Benning. The course would begin in January at Fort Moore, Georgia, with students from across the military. Sarah would be one of only 3 women in a class of 47 students, representing the Army's continued integration of female soldiers into previously male-only specialties. The night before departing for sniper school, Sarah called her parents from the payphone outside the barracks. Her father's voice carried across the miles, bringing with it the sounds of Montana winter and memories of home. "You ready for this, kiddo?" Sarah looked around the base, thinking about the journey from ranch girl to soldier to potential sniper. "I think so, Dad. It's going to be the hardest thing I've ever done." "Well," Tom Mitchell chuckled, "you've been through Montana blizzards, broken horses, and helped birth calves at midnight in February. I figure you can handle whatever the Army throws at you." As she hung up the phone, Sarah realized her father was right. The challenges ahead would be different from anything she'd faced on the ranch, but the fundamental qualities remained the same: determination, attention to detail, and the ability to stay calm under pressure. The girl who'd learned to shoot by necessity in the mountains of Montana was about to become a precision weapon in the hands of the United States Army. The U.S. Army Scout Sniper School at Fort Moore, Georgia, occupied a sprawling complex of ranges, classrooms, and training areas that stretched across thousands of acres of pine forest and rolling hills. Sarah arrived on a cold January morning with 46 other students from across the military spectrum. Army Rangers, Marine Force Recon, Navy SEALs, and Air Force Special Operations personnel filled the roster alongside conventional infantry soldiers like herself. Chief Instructor Master Sergeant Robert Kane had been running sniper courses for 12 years. A veteran of 3 combat deployments, Kane possessed an encyclopedic knowledge of ballistics, fieldcraft, and the psychological demands of precision shooting. His opening speech to the new class was both warning and promise. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most demanding marksmanship course in the U.S. military. Over the next 8 weeks, you will be challenged physically, mentally, and emotionally. 73% of you will fail. Some will fail because you can't shoot well enough. Some will fail because you can't handle the physical demands. Most will fail because you can't handle the pressure." Kane's eyes swept the formation, settling briefly on Sarah and the 2 other women in the class. "This course doesn't care about your gender, your rank, or which service you represent. It cares about results. Can you hit what you're aiming at under any conditions? Can you move unseen across hostile terrain? Can you make life and death decisions with incomplete information? If you can't, you need to leave now." Nobody moved. The first week focused on weapons familiarization and basic marksmanship principles. Students worked with the M24 sniper weapon system, a bolt-action rifle chambered in 7.62 mm NATO. The weapon was precise, reliable, and unforgiving of poor technique. Unlike the semi-automatic rifles they'd trained with in basic courses, the bolt-action design required deliberate, methodical shooting. Sarah's initial performance was solid, but not exceptional. The M24 handled differently from any rifle she'd used before, and the scope was more complex than the simple hunting optics of her youth. Range estimation, wind reading, and ballistic calculations required conscious effort rather than intuitive judgment. Sergeant First Class Maria Santos, one of the assistant instructors, noticed Sarah's methodical approach to learning new concepts. While other students relied on previous experience or tried to shortcut complex calculations, Sarah worked through each problem step by step, building understanding rather than just memorizing procedures. "Mitchell, what's your background with long-range shooting?" Santos asked during a break between range sessions. "Hunting rifles out to about 400 meters, Sergeant. Mostly white-tailed deer and coyotes. Nothing like this precision work." Santos nodded. "Good. Students with too much civilian experience sometimes have to unlearn bad habits. You're building skills from a solid foundation." She paused, reviewing Sarah's score sheets. "Your groups are consistent, even when conditions change. That's more valuable than having one exceptional day followed by 3 mediocre ones." The academic portion of sniper school was intensive. Students learned advanced ballistics, including factors like gyroscopic drift, Coriolis effect, and spin drift that affected bullets over extreme distances. Meteorology classes covered temperature, humidity, and barometric pressure effects on bullet flight. Range estimation techniques used everything from mathematical formulas to visual references for determining target distances. Sarah excelled in the classroom environment. Her analytical mind absorbed complex calculations and retained detailed information about ballistic tables and environmental factors. While other students struggled with the academic workload, she found parallels to the practical problem-solving required on the ranch. Reading weather patterns to predict stock behavior wasn't so different from reading wind conditions to predict bullet drift. But it was during stalking exercises that Sarah discovered her greatest strength: the art of moving undetected across terrain. Approaching within shooting range of instructors equipped with binoculars and radios required patience, planning, and an almost supernatural awareness of concealment principles. The stalking portion took place in heavily wooded terrain with varying elevation and thick underbrush. Students had to move from a starting point to within 200 meters of instructor positions, take a precision shot, and extract without being detected. The instructors, experienced snipers themselves, knew every hiding spot and movement technique students might attempt. Sarah's first stalking attempt was a disaster. She moved too quickly, chose poor concealment positions, and was spotted by instructors when she was still 800 meters from the target. The failure was humbling but educational. That evening, she studied topographic maps of the training area, analyzing sightlines and identifying potential routes that offered better concealment. Her second attempt showed improvement. By moving slowly and carefully selecting covered positions, she reached the 400-meter mark before being detected. The third attempt got her within 300 meters. Each iteration taught new lessons about patience, route selection, and the importance of understanding how instructors thought about terrain. Staff Sergeant Thompson, the primary stalking instructor, watched Sarah's progress with interest. Thompson had been teaching fieldcraft for 6 years and had developed an eye for students who truly understood the mental aspects of invisible movement. Most students focused on physical techniques like camouflage and crawling positions. The best students understood that stalking was primarily a mental exercise in seeing terrain through the eyes of potential observers. "Mitchell, walk me through your route planning for today's exercise."
Thompson requested after her fourth stalking attempt, which had successfully reached the target without detection.
Sarah spread out her annotated topographic map, showing the route she'd planned and the alternative paths she'd considered. "Sergeant, I studied the instructors' positions and tried to identify their most likely observation areas. Instead of taking the direct route, I planned a longer approach that stayed in dead space until the final phase." Thompson examined her annotations. The map showed detailed notes about elevation changes, vegetation types, and sightline analysis that exceeded the work of most students. "What made you choose this final approach route?" "The instructors are positioned on high ground with excellent visibility over the direct approaches, but there's a drainage depression that runs within 200 meters of their position.
If I could reach it undetected, the final movement would be concealed by the terrain feature itself."
And if you'd been spotted during the approach phase, Sarah indicated her planned escape routes, showing how the same terrain features that provided concealment for movement could facilitate withdrawal.
"Multiple exit options, Sergeant. Never commit to a route without a way out." Thompson was impressed. Sarah's approach demonstrated strategic thinking that usually took years to develop. She wasn't just learning techniques. She was understanding the principles behind them and adapting them to specific situations. The shooting portion of sniper school pushed students to their limits. Precision shooting at extended ranges, often under time pressure and simulated stress conditions, separated natural marksmen from precision shooters. Targets at 800, 1,000, and 1,200 meters required perfect technique and environmental awareness. Sarah's shooting improved dramatically as the course progressed. Her natural marksmanship ability, combined with intensive instruction and constant practice, produced increasingly impressive results. By the 6th week, she was consistently hitting targets at maximum range under varying conditions. But it was during the culmination exercise that Sarah truly distinguished herself. The final test combined all elements of sniper training: stalking, range estimation, environmental calculation, and precision shooting under observation. Students had to reach an assigned position undetected, identify and engage multiple targets at unknown distances, then extract successfully. Sarah's target package included 3 objectives at ranges from 700 to 1,400 meters. The weather conditions were challenging, with gusting winds and shifting light conditions that changed throughout the exercise. Multiple instructors with radio communication and optical equipment monitored the area for student movement. Her approach took 4 hours of careful movement through dense forest and across open areas that required crawling techniques to avoid detection. The final position offered clear sightlines to all 3 targets but was located on a hillside that provided natural concealment while allowing multiple exit routes. The shooting sequence required precise range estimation and careful calculation of environmental factors. Sarah's first target, a torso silhouette at 700 meters, fell with her initial shot. The second target, at 900 meters, required compensation for a crosswind that had increased since her first engagement. Her shot hit center mass. The third target presented the greatest challenge. At 1,400 meters, the silhouette appeared as a small speck even through her rifle scope. Wind conditions were variable. Temperature had dropped since morning, and afternoon lighting created shadows that complicated target identification. Sarah spent 15 minutes studying conditions and calculating her shot before committing to the trigger pull. The bullet struck the target dead center, producing the characteristic metallic clang that confirmed a successful hit. Her extraction movement went undetected, and she reached the designated rally point without being spotted by any of the observing instructors. Master Sergeant Kane reviewed her performance that evening, comparing her results to the other students and to historical course standards. Sarah's combination of fieldcraft skills and marksmanship ability placed her in the top 5% of all students who had completed the program. Mitchell, your final exercise performance was exceptional. Your stalking was textbook perfect, and your shooting was outstanding under challenging conditions. You've demonstrated the skills and mindset we want in a graduate of this program. Kane paused, consulting his notes. There's something else. Your performance has been noticed by people outside this school. Special operations units are always looking for qualified snipers, and your scores have attracted attention from some very selective organizations. Sarah had heard rumors about graduates being recruited for special assignments, but she'd focused on completing the course rather than worrying about what came next. What kind of organizations, Master Sergeant? That's not my place to discuss. But I will say this. Finish strong, graduate from this program, and you'll have opportunities that most soldiers only dream about. The next 2 weeks will determine whether you're just another good sniper or something special. As Sarah prepared for the final phase of sniper school, she reflected on the journey from ranch girl to precision shooter. The skills she was learning went far beyond marksmanship. She was developing the ability to operate independently in hostile territory, to make split-second decisions with life and death consequences, and to remain calm under extreme pressure. The girl who had left Montana 8 months earlier was becoming a weapon in the truest sense of the word. But more than that, she was becoming a protector, someone whose skills could save lives and accomplish missions that conventional forces couldn't handle. The final weeks of sniper school would determine whether she was ready for the responsibilities that came with those capabilities. Sarah's graduation from sniper school came with the highest honors and an unexpected visitor. As she stood with the 12 other successful graduates out of the original 47 candidates, a tall man in civilian clothes watched from the rear of the ceremony. Commander Jake Mitchell, no relation despite the shared surname, represented Naval Special Warfare Command, and he was there specifically to observe the young soldier who had achieved the highest combined scores in the program's recent history. The graduation ceremony was brief but meaningful. Master Sergeant Kane presented each graduate with their sniper badge and certificate, acknowledging their transformation from conventional soldiers into precision specialists. When Sarah's name was called, Kane added an unusual comment. Private First Class Mitchell graduated first in her class with the highest marksmanship scores recorded in the past 3 years. Her fieldcraft and tactical understanding demonstrate exceptional aptitude for advanced operations. After the ceremony, Commander Mitchell approached Sarah during the reception. His introduction was casual, but his questions were specific and probing. Where did she want to serve? What were her career goals? How did she handle stress and isolation? The conversation felt more like an informal interview than social small talk. Private Mitchell, I represent a joint training program that selects personnel from all military branches for specialized operations. We're interested in soldiers with your skill set and demonstrated performance. Would you be open to discussing advanced training opportunities? Sarah's response was cautious but interested. Sir, I'm committed to serving wherever the Army needs me. If there are opportunities to improve my skills and contribute to important missions, I'd like to hear about them. Commander Mitchell handed her a business card with only a phone number. Call this number when you get to your first assignment. Ask for operations planning. Tell them Commander Mitchell referred you. Someone will contact you within a week. Sarah's first assignment was with the 3rd Infantry Division at Fort Stewart, Georgia, as a sniper team member in an infantry battalion. The transition from the intensive training environment to operational units presented new challenges. Real-world missions were less structured than training exercises, and the stakes were higher than hitting paper targets. Her battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Patricia Hayes, was one of the first female officers to lead an infantry unit with integrated female soldiers. Hayes understood both the opportunities and challenges facing women in combat roles, and she took personal interest in Sarah's development as a sniper. Mitchell, your sniper school instructors speak very highly of your capabilities, but school performance doesn't always translate to operational effectiveness. I'm assigning you to Bravo Company's sniper section. Sergeant First Class Rodriguez will be your team leader and mentor. Sergeant Rodriguez was a combat veteran with 2 deployments and a reputation for developing young snipers. His first meeting with Sarah was direct and challenging. Private Mitchell, I don't care what your test scores were or what your instructors said about you. In this unit, you prove yourself through performance. My job is to keep you alive and make you effective. Your job is to listen, learn, and contribute to mission success. Rodriguez's mentoring style was demanding but fair. He pushed Sarah to apply her technical skills in realistic scenarios, working with infantry squads and learning how sniper teams integrated with conventional forces. The training was continuous and varied, covering urban operations, desert warfare, and mountain operations. 6 weeks into her assignment, the phone call Commander Mitchell had promised finally came. Sarah was directed to report to a nondescript office building in Savannah for what was described as an assessment and briefing. The location was deliberately unremarkable, the kind of place that would blend into any business district. The assessment took 3 days and covered every aspect of Sarah's capabilities. Physical fitness tests that exceeded normal Army standards, psychological evaluations that probed her decision-making under pressure, technical examinations of her marksmanship abilities with weapons she'd never seen before. Most challenging were scenario-based exercises that tested her judgment and tactical thinking. Dr. Waft. Sarah Chen, a Navy psychologist conducting part of the evaluation, found Sarah's profile unusual among special operations candidates. Most people who volunteer for high-risk assignments show elevated sensation-seeking behaviors or competitive drives. You show something different, methodical problem-solving and genuine concern for mission accomplishment over personal recognition. Ma'am, I learned growing up that the job matters more than who gets credit. When you're working cattle or fixing equipment, what matters is getting it done right, not proving how tough you are. Dr. Kane. Chen nodded the response. Sarah's motivation appeared to be service-oriented rather than ego-driven, a characteristic that often predicted success in special operations environments where team cohesion was critical. The final phase of assessment involved live-fire exercises with advanced weapons systems. Sarah worked with the Barrett .50 caliber rifle for the first time, a massive weapon that fired rounds capable of disabling vehicles and penetrating light armor at extreme distances. The rifle's size and power were intimidating, but its precision capabilities were extraordinary. Master Chief Petty Officer Dennis Walsh, a Navy SEAL with extensive sniper experience, conducted the Barrett evaluation. Walsh had trained hundreds of special operations personnel and had developed an eye for shooters who could handle the physical and mental demands of extreme-range precision work. Mitchell, the Barrett is not just a bigger rifle. It's a completely different weapon system that requires different techniques and understanding. The ballistics are complex, the recoil is substantial, and the ranges involved create challenges that don't exist with conventional sniper rifles. Sarah's first shots with the Barrett were erratic as she adjusted to the weapon's characteristics. The massive recoil was manageable but different from anything she'd experienced. More challenging were the ballistic calculations required for ranges extending beyond 2,000 meters, where factors like Earth rotation became significant. But over the course of 2 days, Sarah's performance with the Barrett improved dramatically. Her analytical approach to learning new weapons served her well as she mastered the complex calculations and environmental factors involved in extreme-range shooting. By the end of the evaluation, she was consistently hitting targets at ranges that challenged experienced operators. Master Chief Walsh's evaluation was glowing. This soldier demonstrates exceptional aptitude for extreme-range precision work. Her technical understanding is superior, her shooting skills are outstanding, and her temperament is ideal for special operations environments. I recommend her for immediate integration into advanced programs. 3 weeks later, Sarah received orders that officially transferred her to a joint task force designated only as ODA 572. The unit designation meant nothing to her, but the assignment location did: Fort Bragg, North Carolina, home of Army Special Forces and other special operations units. Her arrival at Fort Bragg began a new phase of her military career. ODA 572 was actually a cover designation for a joint Navy-Army Special Reconnaissance Unit that conducted sensitive missions in denied territory. The unit's snipers supported special operations teams operating behind enemy lines, providing precision fires and intelligence-gathering capabilities. The unit commander was Navy Commander Sarah Williams, a former intelligence officer who had transitioned to special operations leadership. Williams briefed Sarah on the unit's mission and her role within it. Specialist Mitchell, this unit conducts reconnaissance and direct action missions in environments where conventional forces cannot operate. Our snipers often work independently for extended periods, sometimes providing support for operations they have no direct knowledge of. The work is challenging, dangerous, and absolutely critical to national security. Sarah's integration into the unit involved advanced training that built on her sniper school foundation. Long-range reconnaissance techniques, advanced communications, and survival skills that prepared her for operations in any environment. Most importantly, she learned to work with other special operations personnel whose capabilities complemented her precision shooting skills. Her first operational deployment came 4 months after joining the unit. The mission, classified at the highest levels, involved supporting a Navy SEAL reconnaissance team operating in hostile territory. Sarah's role was to provide precision overwatch and communications relay from concealed positions, while the SEAL team gathered intelligence on enemy activities. The deployment lasted 6 weeks and took place in a mountainous region where enemy forces controlled most of the terrain. Sarah operated from concealed positions for days at a time, monitoring enemy movements and providing situational awareness to the SEAL team through encrypted communications. It was during this deployment that Sarah made her first combat engagement with the Barrett .50 caliber rifle. An enemy patrol had discovered the SEAL team's position and was moving to intercept them. The range was extreme, over 2,800 meters, and the shot required compensation for altitude, temperature, and significant crosswinds. Sarah's shot eliminated the patrol leader at a range that exceeded anything attempted in training. The precision and power of the .50 caliber round not only neutralized the immediate threat, but caused the rest of the patrol to take cover, allowing the SEAL team to extract successfully. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Rodriguez, the SEAL team leader, witnessed the shot through his spotting scope. The combination of range, conditions, and precision impressed him enough to request Sarah's personnel file and training history. Rodriguez was already planning to recommend her for assignment to his next operation, a mission that would push the boundaries of long-range precision shooting. But first, Sarah needed to complete her current deployment and prove that her exceptional marksmanship could be consistently applied under operational conditions. The mission that would establish her reputation was still months away, but the foundation was being built with each successful engagement and each demonstration of her unique capabilities.
As Sarah established herself within the special operations community, word of her abilities began to spread through informal networks.
Special operations units were small and interconnected, with personnel moving between assignments based on mission requirements and individual capabilities. A sniper who could consistently engage targets at extreme ranges was a valuable asset that every unit commander wanted to have available. The girl from Montana who had joined the army to help her family was becoming one of the military's most capable precision shooters. But her greatest test, the shot that would define her career and establish her legend within the special operations community, was still ahead. It would come during a mission in hostile desert terrain, where her skills would be pushed to their absolute limits and beyond. The mission brief came at 0400 hours on a Tuesday morning in November. Operation Desert Shield required insertion of a joint reconnaissance team into hostile territory to gather intelligence on enemy weapons shipments. Sarah's role as precision overwatch would be critical to the team's survival and mission success. What nobody anticipated was that this routine reconnaissance mission would become the defining moment of her military career. The team consisted of 8 personnel, 4 Navy SEALs led by Chief Petty Officer Rodriguez, 2 Army Special Forces communications specialists, an Air Force combat controller, and Sarah as the designated marksman. The insertion point was located in mountainous desert terrain that provided excellent observation positions but challenging environmental conditions for precision shooting. Sarah's equipment load included her Barrett .50 caliber rifle, advanced optics, environmental monitoring equipment, and enough ammunition and supplies for a 2-week independent operation. The total weight exceeded 90 pounds, but months of specialized physical conditioning had prepared her for the demands of carrying precision equipment across hostile terrain. The helicopter insertion took place during a moonless night, with the team fast roping into a landing zone 12 kilometers from their objective area. Sarah's insertion was flawless despite the heavy equipment load, and the team moved immediately to establish concealed positions before dawn. Chief Rodriguez positioned Sarah on a ridgeline that provided observation over the target area while maintaining concealment from enemy patrols. Her position was isolated from the main team, connected only by encrypted radio communications that had to be used sparingly to avoid detection. The first 3 days of the mission proceeded according to plan. Sarah observed enemy movements, recorded patrol schedules, and provided early warning when hostile forces approached the team's area of operations. Her precision equipment allowed detailed surveillance from ranges that kept her position completely concealed. But on the 4th day, the situation changed dramatically. Enemy forces had detected some evidence of the reconnaissance team's presence and began systematic sweeps of the area. A large patrol, estimated at company strength, was moving directly toward the main team's position with vehicles and heavy weapons that would make escape impossible. Chief Rodriguez's voice came through Sarah's earpiece with deadly calm. "Ghost, this is Neptune 6. We have approximately 40 enemy personnel with vehicles approaching our position. Range to you is 3 kilometers. Can you provide precision fires to break contact?" Sarah studied the enemy formation through her scope. The lead vehicle was a technical truck with a mounted heavy machine gun, followed by 2 additional vehicles carrying personnel. The range to the formation was 3,847 meters according to her laser rangefinder, beyond anything she had attempted in training or previous operations. Neptune 6 Ghost. Range to target is 3,847 meters. Conditions are challenging but manageable. Request permission to engage. Rodriguez's pause was barely perceptible. He knew Sarah's capabilities but also understood the technical challenges of shooting at nearly 4 kilometers in desert conditions. Ghost, Neptune 6. You are cleared to engage. Priority target is the lead vehicle. Sarah began her calculation sequence, a process that had become automatic through countless hours of training and practice. Environmental conditions included temperature at 47 degrees Celsius, altitude at 2,200 meters above sea level, and variable crosswinds averaging 12 knots from the northwest. Humidity was minimal, but heat shimmer would affect bullet trajectory and optical clarity. The ballistic calculation required compensation for bullet drop of over 400 inches at the target range. Wind drift would push the bullet approximately 8 feet to the right without correction. Most challenging was the Coriolis effect. The rotation of the Earth would deflect the bullet's path during the nearly 5-second flight time required to reach the target. Sarah's first shot missed, passing just over the target vehicle's roof. The massive .50 caliber round impacted the ground behind the formation, with enough force to create a visible dust cloud. Enemy personnel immediately took cover, but they couldn't identify the source of the fire due to the extreme range. She adjusted her aim point, compensating for the observed miss, and fired again. The second shot struck the technical truck's engine block, disabling the vehicle and causing the entire enemy formation to stop and seek cover. But they were still a threat to the reconnaissance team, and Sarah's position was now compromised by the muzzle blast and dust signature. Chief Rodriguez's voice was urgent. "Ghost, good hit on the vehicle, but we need more fires. They're regrouping for an assault on our position." Sarah chambered her third round and selected a new target. An enemy soldier was positioning what appeared to be a rocket-propelled grenade launcher to engage the reconnaissance team's suspected location. The range was still extreme, but this shot would save her teammates' lives. Her breathing slowed to the measured rhythm that had become second nature during months of precision shooting training. The crosshairs settled on the enemy soldier's center mass, with Sarah's calculations accounting for every environmental factor that would affect the bullet's 4-kilometer journey to the target. The trigger broke cleanly, and Sarah immediately began tracking the bullet's impact through her scope. At this range, there was time to observe the bullet's flight and impact before the sound of the shot reached the target area. The .50 caliber round struck the enemy soldier's center mass, eliminating the threat and causing the remainder of the enemy formation to scatter in confusion. But Sarah's most remarkable shot was yet to come. Enemy reinforcements were approaching from a different direction, and the lead vehicle contained what appeared to be a high-value target based on radio intercepts the team had been monitoring. Chief Rodriguez requested one more engagement to prevent enemy forces from escaping with valuable intelligence. The target was moving in a vehicle at a range Sarah calculated as 3,527 meters. The shot would require leading the moving target while compensating for extreme range environmental factors and the vehicle's changing position relative to her firing position. It was a shot that exceeded anything attempted in military history. Sarah's preparation was methodical and precise. She studied the vehicle's movement pattern, calculating its speed and direction. The environmental conditions had changed slightly as afternoon heating created thermal updrafts that would affect bullet trajectory. Most critically, she had to time the shot perfectly to intercept a moving target at a range where the bullet flight time exceeded 4 seconds. Her final shot with the Barrett .50 caliber rifle traveled 3,527 meters and struck the moving vehicle's passenger compartment with devastating effect. The precision and distance of the engagement was unprecedented in military annals, establishing a record that would stand for years and cement Sarah's reputation as one of the most capable precision shooters in military history. The enemy forces, having lost their leadership and key vehicles to what seemed like supernatural precision fires from an impossible range, withdrew from the area completely. The reconnaissance team successfully extracted without further contact, carrying intelligence that would prove crucial to subsequent operations in the region. Chief Rodriguez's after-action report documented Sarah's performance in detail, noting that her precision fires had saved the lives of the entire team and enabled mission success under impossible circumstances. The shots made at ranges exceeding 3,500 meters under combat conditions represented a new standard for military marksmanship. Word of Sarah's extraordinary shooting spread rapidly through special operations networks. The technical aspects of her shots, the environmental calculations, the equipment capabilities, and the precision required impressed even the most experienced snipers. More importantly, her tactical judgment and team support under extreme pressure demonstrated the complete package of skills required for special operations. Master Chief Walsh, who had evaluated Sarah during her initial assessment, received copies of the after-action reports and ballistic analysis. His review concluded that Sarah's performance represented a new capability for special operations forces and recommended her for assignment to the most demanding missions requiring extreme-range precision fires. But Sarah's reaction to her record-setting performance was characteristic of her personality. When Chief Rodriguez congratulated her on making military history, her response focused on team success rather than individual achievement. "Chief, we all did our jobs. I just happened to be in a position where I could help when you needed it. That's what teammates do." The awards and recognition that followed Operation Desert Shield were significant. Sarah received the Bronze Star for Valor and was promoted ahead of her peers. More importantly, she gained access to advanced training programs and special assignments that utilized her unique capabilities. But for Sarah, the Montana ranch girl who had joined the army to help her family, the greatest satisfaction came from knowing she had protected her teammates and accomplished the mission. The technical achievement of the 500-meter shot was remarkable, but its meaning lay in the lives saved and the intelligence gathered that would protect other soldiers in future operations. Her father's voice during their next phone conversation carried pride that transcended words. 3.5 kilometers, kiddo? That's more than 2 miles. I always knew you could shoot, but that's something else entirely. Sarah's response reflected the journey from ranch girl to record-setting sniper. Dad, you taught me that the shot doesn't matter unless it accomplishes something important. These shots saved my teammates and helped accomplish our mission. That's what makes them worthwhile. As Sarah continued her military career, her reputation within special operations circles grew with each assignment. Units specifically requested her for missions requiring extreme-range precision capabilities. Her technical expertise, combined with proven performance under combat conditions, made her one of the most sought-after specialists in the military. The girl who had left Montana to help her family had become a legend in the special operations community. Her record-setting shots represented more than just technical achievement. They demonstrated the possibilities that emerged when natural talent combined with intensive training, battlefield experience, and unwavering dedication to mission success. Chief Rodriguez often told the story of Operation Desert Shield to new SEAL candidates, emphasizing not just the technical aspects of Sarah's shooting, but her professionalism and team focus under extreme pressure. The shots that saved his team became part of military law, inspiring a new generation of precision shooters to pursue excellence in their own training and service. Sarah Mitchell had achieved something unprecedented in military history while remaining true to the values her father had taught her on a Montana ranch. The precision shots that established her legend were ultimately about protecting people and serving something larger than herself. In the end, that made them more remarkable than any technical achievement or record book entry.